Okay. All right, here we go. Ask me anything, or I should say, ask us anything. So, surprise, surprise, I dragged Emily along for this one. Kicking and screaming, not too bad. Not too bad, but so yeah, we'll go through all the questions. We've got a fair amount of questions, so I'll try to move at a decent pace and cover as much ground as we can without being here for 3 hours. So here we go. We'll dive right in. All right, let's see. Well, first of all, how'd you like the 10K row?
Oof. I did not care for it. In fact, last night I was like, okay, lately we've done, not that long ago, we did a 10K run. We did 45 minutes on the bike. We did a 10K row. Let's be done for a bit.
That's what she said. She's like, we're done for a while. I had a couple tears. I had a little tear there and a little tear there as well, but all good. I will be honest, around like 6,000 meters on the rower, when I had like 4,000 left, I had a little devil creep into my head. It was like, just get off the rower. Who's going to know? Just, you've done fine. You rode 6,000 meters. That's fine, isn't it? But, so anyway, I hung in there. All right, let's go through and see what are some of the most upvoted questions, and we'll tackle them. All right, let's see here. Okay, the number one most upvoted from Ben P. By the way, Emily has not seen any of these questions, so we're going to shotgun with some of them.
I also...
Full disclosure.
Yes, full disclosure. I've got something going on my phone, so if I'm glancing down, we're trying to plan something in October at Disneyland, and the tickets went on sale this morning, so I'm in the queue, so I might have to take care of that.
She's multitasking, handling the AMA and handling some issues with the mouse as well, so, the mouse waits for no one. All right, first most upvoted question is from Ben P. How would you respond to the critique that CrossFit is exercise and not training because it is quote-unquote random? I know variance is much more intentional, and there's no progressive overload. I've seen a lot of fitness quote-unquote influencers say that progressive overload is necessary to build strength and muscle. Is progressive overload factored into the Linchpin programming? So, man, well, first of all, you haven't seen these questions. I'll ask you, when's the last meaningful advancement in your life that took place because of a social media influencer?
Not anytime recently.
Yeah, I can't think of really the last thing of value that was added to my life from a social media influencer. And Ben, this is not, an attack on you, but I personally, there's a difference between being an influencer and having a big following for whatever reason. I don't know. Famous, popular, you have phenomenal abdominals through hard work or genetics, beats me. And being a subject matter expert in something. I personally would think that most people would be served really well by eliminating quote-unquote influencers from their life and just doing what actually works. It's like, oh my goodness, but first of all, for anyone who might be unfamiliar, so progressive overload, you can get a couple different definitions from it, but a general casual thing might be, you're systematically increasing the weight, the time that you're working out, the volume of work that you're doing, the intensity of which you're doing a certain particular thing, and you're doing this in a systematic way to gradually have adaptation, allow enough rest, and ideally minimize the risk of injury. Sounds reasonable to me, right? So you want to train smart in a way that allows the athlete to continue to grow by stressing different areas in a systematic fashion, not training them too much, and minimizing the risk of injury. Well, I guess my question would be, regardless whether you're analyzing CrossFit, analyzing powerlifting, analyzing running, or anything else, what would be your metric as to whether or not any system actually had value and delivered the goods, right? And the simplest thing would be, does it work? And that might be an oversimplification. So the question becomes, not does a social media influencer say A, B, C, or D, does whatever you're doing work? And here's the funny thing, the social media influencer says this, it doesn't work, not progressive overload. Well, that's confusing that it doesn't work, because I guess what's happening with all the thousands and thousands of people that every day are improving and getting stronger and getting fitter and getting faster and posting in BTWB and the private Facebook group all these lightning bolts and achievements. Geez, I guess we're getting really lucky. I guess we're getting really lucky day after day and really lucky week after week and month after month and year after year. Just wow, we are the luckiest people since we're doing just random nonsense that's mystical and just fairy dust, and wow. Whew, I wonder when that luck's going to run out. Or I wonder if what we're actually doing does work and there is a method to the madness and all that stuff. You know, I think what's also interesting about progressive overload and some other things in strength and conditioning or exercise science, you know, with some of, you know, I've interviewed doctors in exercise science and things like that for very non-random, and there'll be people are wowed by scientists and doctors and credentials and PhD, and I get that it has their place. But a lot of those people, when I have open and honest conversations, will be the first to realize that a lot of the studies or the classic literature on strength and conditioning or whatever it is, it wasn't with regards to the sort of training that CrossFit's doing, meaning mixed modality. It was you're just lifting and you're just trying to become a better lifter. And so you're doing this, you know, 10% more this week than you did last week. A little 10% more on week number 4. This is a deload week. Same thing if you're on just a running program. And a lot of the studies and books that were written are based upon that. It's only until relatively recently that people try to be these amazing athletes that not only became very strong, but also could run short, and could run long, and could do bodyweight movements, and embrace the power lifters. And they were also Olympic lifters, and they were everything else, and they did high-intensity training, and how the human body reacted to that, and how is the ideal way to program a strength and conditioning routine that would maximize all those things at the same time. There's not a lot of history in that, and there's not a lot of books written about that, quite frankly, and a lot of the ways to do that have been lessons learned from people in the trenches for coming up on 20 years, you know, like myself. And so I don't think a lot of these social media influencers, or even like a lot of strength and conditioning coaches, to be quite honest with you, this is not a jab at them, but how could you know about something that you don't do, haven't studied, and haven't immersed yourself into a fanatical level? And so upon the outside, just looking in, if you look at CrossFit programming and you don't actually understand what's happening, it probably does look very random. I mean, that was my first assessment when I was looked at in 2005, coming from every Monday and Thursdays, chest and tries, Tuesday and Fridays, back and buys. Like, I know I'm doing 3 sets of 10. This is the weight that I'm going to do. And then I look at a week of CrossFit program, and I'm like, what is this random nonsense? This isn't going to work. I'm not going to get fit. But you should measure a program, and Glassman said this, and I have to give him credit for it. If you're trying to figure out the value of any program, whether it's a strength and conditioning program or learning a language, you look at the safety, efficacy, and efficiency. You want to have a program that's safe. The efficacy is, what does it say it will do? A powerlifting program should say it will increase your squat, dead, and bench. A fitness program should increase your fitness across all modalities and time domains. A Spanish program should get you better at Spanish. That's the efficacy. And then the efficiency is, how long is it going to take to get there? Are you going to become fluent in 6 weeks or 6 years? Are you going to put 10 pounds in your deadlift in 1 month or 2 years? That's the efficiency of the program. And what we do here at Linchpin delivers on all those accounts. We get people fitter across all those domains. We do it in a gradual, sustained way that people can actually tolerate long term, and there's a high element of safety. And so I would evaluate a program based upon its safety, its efficacy, and its efficiency. Does it actually work? I would not validate or discard a program based upon what a social media influencer says. You know, and that's my 2 cents of that. You know, it's funny. I'm on a bit of a rant here. You know what's funny is a lot of the progressive overload is traditionally in just lifting dominated things, although it can be in others. Isn't it funny how strong people get doing Linchpin without doing this quote-unquote progressive overload? Isn't it really odd? You know, I went to a website because my curiosity got piqued. A website that is not for people involved in fitness. It's just for lifting. You just want to lift, okay? You're not concerned with anything else. Your life revolves around lifting. And they categorize your lifts into 5 levels: beginner, novice, intermediate, advanced, and then elite. And it's amazing how many people we have in just about the top tier, the second, like an advanced level lifter, without this just dedicated linear lifting cycle. You know, I looked up the men's deadlift standards. 1 rep max, by the way. Beginner, 173 pounds for a 1 rep max. Novice, 246 pounds deadlift. Intermediate, 336 pounds. Advanced level lifter, 1 rep max deadlift, 440 pounds. And elite, 552. So an advanced level lifter, 1 rep max, 440 pounds as a dedicated strength athlete. Isn't that funny? That, now don't get me wrong, a 440 dead for a guy for 1 rep, that's legit. But that's not eye-popping in our community at all. Isn't that weird? And you know what else they can do? I can ask them to go out and run a 10K, and they can just go out and do it. And again, I get back to it. I guess we're getting really, really lucky over and over again. So, anyway, okay. I will also say, in all fairness, there's a lot of bad programming out there. There is a lot of nonsense that is not systematic and well thought out. I know how long it takes me to program for Linchpin, and that's why I don't do anything else in the entire world. It is my full-time dedicated occupation to do it right and to make sure that it's going to deliver the goods. There's a lot of nonsense out there that is deserving of the critique of being random and being weird or overtraining people or causing injuries or whatnot. But that also exists in the land of powerlifting, and it exists in the world of Olympic lifting, and it exists in running. That's not unique to CrossFit. There's great in all of those communities, and there's things that suck in all those communities. So that was my rant. I don't know if you have anything to contribute to the progressive overload.
I think sometimes to some of these influencers, they don't know what they don't know because they've never done it, they've never tried it. But maybe they feel even like a little bit threatened by it because there are people who are certainly stronger doing CrossFit than there are on the progressive overload. And I don't know if some of you have been around long enough, maybe remember a little bit of when CrossFit was kind of on the rise. There was a little bit of that clash with the Olympic weightlifting community as well. And I think because you had CrossFitters walking in and taking these spots at like the American Open and things like that, but they weren't weightlifters, but they were doing these, CrossFit workouts, and then were getting as strong, if not sometimes stronger than quote unquote weightlifters. And so there was some of that going on as well, where I think some of people kind of wanted to downplay CrossFit a little bit, or that it doesn't work, or that it's reckless, but I think since, the communities have come together, and I know that weightlifting has really come to appreciate CrossFit because it's kind of boosted their community back up to being, not so much dying as it once was. So I think sometimes influencers just don't know, and then
hey,
they don't want to lose their spot.
You know what sells? Controversy sells. So hey, put out the thing of this is dumb, this doesn't work. That's going to get more clicks than a good title, and that's the sad truth of the algorithm as well. Okay, next most upvoted one. Let's see, that's upvoted there. This is the next most upvoted one. What does it say? Dooley R. I try and plan my week out, but hey, life happens. Amen to that, brother. I missed Monday's workout. I have the ability to do a 2-a-day on Tuesday or remove Thursday as a rest day. I know missing one day when looking back at the big picture isn't huge, but I just love the programming. Doing the rare 2-a-day or skipping a rest day to add in a different stimulus. Thoughts? I'll let you take this one initially.
Okay.
So he missed a day. He wants to make it up. What should he do?
So I would say, in my opinion, I would maybe swap your rest day and just make it up on your rest day. I'm not sure that doing a 2-a-day really is the best thing to do. I guess a lot of it has to do with your age, maybe your athletic background, but I tend to think that on that second session, well, you'll lose intensity at both. So certainly that second session won't be what it was intended to be because you just don't have much left in the tank. And I think that's when injuries could pop up. And I also, it is my opinion that if it's happening every once in a while, let it go. Just train 4 days that week and allow yourself to just and experience life. It happens. Let it go. Now, if it's happening on a weekly basis, that should be reconsidered. But I know it's something that he can't really do is just let it go.
I'm not good at letting things go.
But I think it's okay that some days you might only, or some weeks you only train 4 days a week because things happened and those things need to be handled. And, that's why you train the way that you train, so that when things pop up, you're still fit, you're still healthy, you're still making strides forward.
Yeah, and Dooley, I honestly think either one's good to go. That's my quick answer right there. If it just happens every now and then, you double up one day, what Emily said's true. You're probably not going to give both things your maximal whatever. But there's benefit in just feeling that experience and feeling what you can do, and the tank's a little empty. Like, that has value. And even if it doesn't propel your fitness forward, it has some value between the years of figuring out your limitations. And it's okay to throw it in the rest day, like you said. And it's also okay to miss it, like she said. So again, like so many of these things, it's not a one-size-fits-all. And you answered it in your question that, it might seem like a big deal today or this week, but when you look back over the last year, it's not that big of a deal. And if you have that long-term view, that what matters the most is that most of the time you're being consistent, most of the time you're making the best decision possible, most of the time you're trying to give yourself the rest that you need so you can push, you're going to be okay. And if every now and then you got a whoopsie, you're going to be okay. And so, yeah. But I'm not good at letting it go. I don't like to miss a workout. I do not like to miss a workout. So I'm right there with you, my friend. All right, let's see. I think that one there is the next one. So I put everyone to check. Okay, here we go. Adrian S., our friend down in Mexico. Here we go. Hope to come down and visit you one day with the family, my friend. Let's see. 2-part question. Number 1, do you think at this point someone can make it to the CrossFit Games just working out once a day, following what almost all CrossFit gyms and even we at Linchpin do? Working out, let's say, about 5 days a week. So, the 2-part question, we'll handle that one first. Do you think so? Do you think you can make it to the games on one workout a day?
I do not.
I don't either.
I also think gone are the days of like when I worked out like maybe 2 hours a day and had a job and balanced a family. I think those days are gone as well. I know some people have one child or maybe two, but I think they're still training full time and they don't have jobs outside of their full time training.
Mm-hmm.
I just think it has become so incredibly competitive. It's a sport. There's a lot of money on the table to win, so they're dedicating a lot of time. So I don't think so.
I don't think so at all. Not at all. Part 2 of the question. How would you rank other factors outside of training to achieve that goal, like nutrition, recovery, rest, for example? I ask this because I can remember there was a season where Matt Fraser was having basically a pint of Ben & Jerry's almost every week. I don't think it was almost every week. I think he had one a day is what he told me. I don't want to misquote him, but I think he had like a pint of Ben & Jerry's like every day. And he was crushing people. And there were athletes that had a really strict clean diet as well. So second part of the question, how do you rank the other factors to achieve that goal? Nutrition, recovery, rest. And again, you've got people eating really clean, and you get the Matt Fraser. So how do you rank those factors outside of just the workout?
I guess that, you kind of asked the question in 2 rounds and brought in Matt Fraser, who's a highly competitive athlete. And then, are we talking about the average person or the athlete? Because I do think they're slightly different in my opinion. I think especially if we're working out 1 hour a day, especially as we age, I do think a lot of those other factors play into it. And one of the things that I think gets does not get enough credit is sleep. I don't think enough people put enough emphasis on sleep, and that's when you're doing the bulk of your recovery. And a lot of adults shortchange that for various reasons. But I do think that that's very important. And the nutritional piece is important. I know when I'm, dialed in and paying better attention to that sort of stuff, I feel better, therefore I perform better. But I also, when I was a high-level athlete, could have cared less, didn't pay any attention to it. And, that whole you can't outrun a bad diet. I think depending on where you're at in that training, I think you can sometimes. Some people can. And there, for me, comes in the argument of talent versus work. Some
That's
people
what I
are
was gonna
just
hit.
talented and they can, let some of that slide, and they're still going to be better than the ones who are like totally dialed in because some people are more talented than others. It's not fair.
That was the biggest thing that struck me with the second part of this question is like, well, Matt Fraser ate a pint of Ben and Jerry's. Not only is life not fair, but human potential is not fair. And in the realm of athletics, it's really apparent. And to me, it's apparent anyway in CrossFit, and maybe because of so much time that I've spent as an analyst and whatnot. CrossFit is just a microcosm of the bigger sports. So if you look at basketball, football, baseball, hockey, the biggest money in the world is there. Millions and hundreds of millions of dollars. And so the best talent is there. The biggest just freak athletes are there. Well, a microcosm happens in CrossFit, okay? But my point is you can probably name some freak athletes in those big four sports that I just mentioned that they just got it. And you learn what they eat and how they live, and they're out partying and they don't get enough sleep, and they come in and they dominate people in an unfair, genetically gifted, life doesn't care sort of a fashion. And we get to see that on the biggest stage. To a smaller part, because the money's not there yet, it's still growing. But those are the people that you're seeing compete at the games as well. And I'm not trying to take away their dedication, their work ethic, their grind, and all that. But as with every year that the games go by, the window for just a good athlete that works really hard to get in there, that door is closing really fast, if it's not already slammed shut. And you're going to see either just the freaks that don't quite have the diet rolled in and the work ethic of some others, but they are unstoppable freaks. There's going to be a few of those. And then a huge segment of the competitors are going to be profoundly genetically talented and have tremendous work ethic and have the drive, and they're trying to dial everything in. And, so it's just a microcosm of the big sports, and it will probably continue to grow. My 2 cents on that. I mean, she was a tremendous athlete in many realms, and even to this day, both of us working out 1 hour a day doing the same workout, she was just born with better stuff genetically than I was. So even her, half-heartedly trying a workout or the diet slipped a little bit, the sleep, like she still just has a level of performance that I can't catch, even if I'm dialed in on everything. And, as frustrating as that might be, it's also just the way that it is, and so, some things just aren't fair.
I wish more people understood that. And I guess if you've never been up close and in that circle of like very highly gifted athletes, I'm just going to throw a college campus out there, and you're not in that circle and you don't watch what these people are doing day in and day out, the amount of debauchery that happens on a college campus of the most gifted athletes that then show up the next day and are able to perform is mind-boggling. Some of them are doing illegal street drugs and they show up and they crush it the next day. They don't care about their nutrition, but they're so talented. They're just better than everyone else, like by far, by leaps and bounds. And if you're in the youth sports, you start to see it at a very young age. I could talk for hours on this topic because people just do not like to accept it, but you can watch a child, the way they move, how incredibly athletic they are compared to their peers. Maybe they're not highly skilled yet, but their athleticism is so much farther beyond. Those are the ones that you're like, yep,
Just
you'll
born
go farther,
that way.
you'll go farther. And they're not really doing anything more.
They're not attending the special camps.
No, they're not putting in hours and hours and have these trainers and this and that. It just doesn't work that way.
It's just not fair. It's just not fair. And those kids, some of them will go the whole way just on talent alone, and then some of them, if they're lucky, will have not only that talent and either get in the right program, get the right coach, get the right mentor, and then the sky's the limit. I mean, just watch out. So, one workout a day in Ben and Jerry's. Let's see here. Let's see if I have to make sure I don't miss anything in the rank order. Okay, though that's a fun one. I'll get to that there in a second. All right, let's see. Okay. From Lisa D. When doing single leg deadlifts with a dumbbell, I sometimes struggle with balancing on one leg. I often hold the rig or touch it lightly as I need something for support during the movement. Should I focus on doing this movement with zero support, even if it means no weight or very light weight, or is training the movement still effective at a heavier weight if I need a small amount of support on the rig? Thoughts?
Well, I'll tell you that I actually struggle with this as well. Not the single leg deadlifts, but the Bulgarian split squats.
Everyone's favorite.
I've been doing those for I don't know how long now, and I can only hold one dumbbell, and I just got to being able to hold one dumbbell. I couldn't for a very long time do them weighted at all, and I did have to hold a PVC pipe. They were so hard for me.
So hard.
And like sometimes like downright painful. So for me, I wanted to still do them because I wanted to practice and get stronger. But I did them with no weight, so nothing at all. And then I did use a support system because I did see the value in that, of going slow and still going through the full range of motion without compromising anything with weight that I know that I wasn't going to be able to do well.
I would say there's no drama with using a bit of support. That's my simplest answer there. And I think you're doing it right just from reading the question, because you say you're just using as much support as needed. You don't have this like death grip on the rig. If you have just a light touch and you're just saving yourself from a tumble, you know what I mean? You're giving yourself some training wheels. Well, then you're still taxing your body neurologically to try to improve your balance because you're allowing that fight to occur. Whereas if you just gripped it so hard that you took kind of the balancing out of it, whoop-de-doo. I think that wonderful middle ground where you have a loading in your hand on the dumbbell that will help, develop some strength, and then just enough touch, that light touch that might vary as needed on that rig to help do that, and over time the dumbbell weight increases and the touch needed on the rig decreases. I think that's a great little dance to do, and I think it sounds like you're doing it just fine. Let's see. This, I'm interested to hear your take on this because it's some midline stuff. I was thinking about a gymnast. Todd G says, I often scale the work targeting my abs or core as it's not a strength for me. Can you give me your rankings of least difficult to most difficult program movements like toes to bar, knees to elbows, V-ups, etc., because I'm not really sure which is more challenging. So when you think of, let's say, you've got ab mat sit-ups, GHD sit-ups, V-ups, toes to bar, knees to elbows, L-sits, hollow rocks, what either pops into your head as the lower end or the higher end?
Well, it's a little bit of a challenging question because some of these movements take like a toes to bar. Some of that is just not being able to efficiently use your kip swing, and so that might be something that's holding you back. So it's not necessarily more challenging if you figure out the correct way to do it. But I guess an ab mat sit-up is probably the least technical, the easiest.
Mm-hmm.
And then something like an L-sit is probably one of the more challenging. That would be my opinion. I don't know. I find knees to elbows harder than toes to bar. I don't know that everyone would agree with that, but I do, because again, you just cannot use the swing in the same sort of way to get to the proper position at the top. V-ups are not just 100% abs. That's going to take some hip flexor strength involved as well, and maybe even some hamstring. If you're super tight in your hamstring, it's just really challenging to get that nice closed position anyway. So there's some different factors going into that.
Yeah, I think an L sit, like a real L sit, is so hard. But of course, you can scale and modify that with having, one leg and a bent knee, both legs and a bent knee, etc., etc. Hanging from the bar, like Emily said, has a different degree of difficulty because not only are you working the midline, but there's some upper body involved. There could be some skill or technique involved. And so anytime something hanging from the bar pops up, you could scale it down to a hanging knee raise as well, and you're not going to be shortchanged doing that. And then if you're sitting on the ground, sit-ups, ab mat sit-ups are very user-friendly. I would say V-ups are more challenging than hollow rocks. Not to say that hollow rocks are not more challenging, but I would rank order that as well. And this question, I think, ties in very nice to a fun one down at the end I've been saving here from Chris R. In a recent VNR, you mentioned that Emily would have some choice words about GHD sit-ups when they come up in a workout. What do the Sherwoods dislike about GHD sit-ups? So first of all, I don't dislike them to parallel. I dislike them all the way down because my shoulders are basically frozen and so tight that I have to put myself in this weird, contorted, not good position to quote-unquote get a full range of motion. I just do them to parallel, and they work fine for me. But this woman here...
I feel very passionately about this movement, and I'm not... Do I have freedom to speak?
Go say you hate it and it's stupid.
When I was an elite gymnast, when we would go to training camps, we would spend, I'm not even kidding you, at least 2 hours doing back walkovers and front walkovers up and down the floor. That's all we did. They were never good enough. We just kept doing them on repeat. The level of soreness, not to mention the amount of kids who walked away with spondy, stress fractures in your low back from doing that hours upon hours upon hours. Shocking. To me, a GHD sit-up feels exactly like backbend after backbend after backbend after backbend. I think they are silly. And when I say that, then Pat says, well, then you're not doing them correctly because you shouldn't be crunching your low back like that. I'm like, okay, well, if I engage my hip flexors then, doing it that way. I don't know if anybody has ever torn a hip flexor. I have. That's another very common gymnastics thing from the amount of splits and stuff that you're doing. Having fatigued hip flexors and pain in that area or tearing your hip flexor, again, is so high risk when you're doing a GHD sit-up. I just think that that's dumb. I do not see any value in crunching down like that or then using your hip flexors in that way, because when on earth are you going to go into that position in life that you need to be strong unless you're doing back bends or something?
I do a bunch of back bends in secret, which she's not aware of.
I just don't like the feeling, and I don't see the value in strengthening my hip flexors in that way because I just don't feel like I'll ever need that. And I think that the risk it outweighs any sort of reward in that particular movement.
And there you have it. How did you actually tear your hip flexor?
I don't know. I was doing a switch leap on beam and it snapped. And I don't know. It was obviously ready to go.
The old switch leap on the beam. Let's see. I think this clears us up from the Facebook group, and now we'll just cover a couple in the BTW squads, and that's that. I can cover this real quick from Kevin B. Can you successfully train in Zone 2 and still get results? Yes. It's a vague question, because what do you mean by results? So in Zone 2 is a lower intensity training, basically like the 10K row we did to some degree. Longer time domain, lower intensity, kind of a conversational pace that's sustained for a longer duration. More common in, running, biking, rowing, things of that nature. Not really associated with weightlifting, for example. Almost like the polar opposite of weightlifting. Yes, you can. And as a matter of fact, there's That's why we do things like that. Yeah, there's benefit to that. And the question becomes, can you still get results? I think you mean by results, since you're posting this in CrossFit Linchpin, fitness, meaning work capacity across broad time modal domains, gymnastics, engine, and barbell strength. Yes. The answer is yes. And then the next question becomes, well, how much zone 2? And that can be, if it's a passion or something you want to personally pursue, it's a little bit different, and you might have to experiment to see when do other things start to slide. Because if you do 80% of your training as light and long, well, then that becomes very obvious when I use those numbers, right? And only 20% is not, your fitness will suffer, potentially at the benefit of your zone 2. And then you want to find that happy medium where you are lifting everything at the same time, and that's always the dance that we're attempting to do. But can you do both? You can, absolutely, but you don't want to do so much of one that the other is degraded to a significant point. All right, we'll hit a few questions from the BTWB squads, and then we'll be good to go. Oh, Thomas G. Baby girl incoming. Congratulations. I hope she is a wonderful, easy little angel. Hey, Linchpin crew, sometimes I add a picture to my workouts that doesn't show the equipment, my destroyed self, or an erg monitor. I rather like to add a special memory that I had that day or some days before, like proposing to my wife, catching up with an old friend, etc., etc. That's a cool thing to put behind your workout for sure. When I come back to that workout and check the history, I get reminded of that memory, which is often motivating and uplifting. We are now awaiting our little girl to be born the next week or so, and you guessed it, I'm looking for a workout suitable for that memory, yet not taxing because of the lack of sleep. Any workout suggestions? So for the day of, I guess, or soon thereafter? I think if you can do anything, it's a victory. And I would say easy to do, minimal warmth required, doesn't take a lot of gear, and you can sneak it in the chaos. Well, I guess maybe at that age the baby's sleeping a lot, which is a good thing, but 100 burpees for time. There you go. Death by 10-meter shuttle sprints. Something like that that's just quick and easy, I would say.
I think anything you can get done is great.
All right, let's see. From Brian K. Protein question. What's the most cost-effective way to increase protein intake? We've got a family of 6. Wow. On a tight budget and an egg-free daughter. I've got an idea, but do you have anything?
I think, for me, stuff that's fast and easy, and I believe especially if you buy it at Costco, cost-efficient cottage cheese, if you guys like that. I don't know, not everybody likes cottage cheese, or the fat-free Greek yogurt has a lot of protein in it, super fast. Again, not everybody loves that. And then outside of, I don't know, big things of ground turkey.
I was thinking like ground beef or ground turkey, yeah.
Again, Costco's another, I
don't
know
bulk.
if everybody has Costco, yeah. But if you buy it in bulk at Costco, it's certainly a lot cheaper. But it's super easy to just make it all up and then keep in your fridge. And you could do, tacos or just a bowl or, I don't know.
And I will say, while I'm not, I don't really take that many supplements at all, quite frankly. I do have a tub of protein powder in the pantry, and if I'm in a pinch and meals are tight or just whatever, I'll just do a protein shake real fast. I make it with milk, so it's got some extra calories, protein, carbs, and fat in there as well. And, would it be better if I had a beautifully lean piece of chicken or steak or something? Sure, but it's quick, fast, and easy.
Do you know what else we did? And this is not probably egg-friendly, but anybody else. I made French toast batter with the protein powder for our son.
To sneak protein into our kids.
Yes, and he loved it. So I made the French toast, but then poured that on the top of it so that it would, go into the bread, and then flipped it over. He loved it. He thought it was great. Couldn't really tell that it was slightly different. And then I was able to get about, 25 grams of protein in him that way.
Okay, 2 more questions, and then we are good to go. Hello from Pakistan. Hello. Okay, this is from James W. Lower body heavy days have a tendency to wreck me. Quite a few days longer than upper body days or Olympic lifting heavy days. Saturday did the 5x5 back squat. Monday I had to take it easy on any below parallel parts of the Filthy 50. Is this normal? Does it tell you something about me as an athlete? I've been doing CrossFit for 6 years now, and this has always been a problem.
This is my problem too. I don't know if it's quote unquote normal, but it's my world. I am disproportionately way stronger in my upper body than my lower body. So I am always destroyed as well. So I'm always cautious about how much load I'm doing, because depending on what I want to feel like in the next couple of days, because like a 5x5 back squat will destroy me sometimes for an entire week. So I've been known not to push as hard as I'm probably capable of, because to me, I still need to be able to function as an adult, and I know that what I'm doing is enough, so I don't need to push it, you know.
There'll be some funny things where we're sitting on the couch at night, and she'll look over and she's like, "Are you sore?" And I'm like, "No, I feel pretty good." She's like, "I'm reffed."
But at the swap to that, you know, if we're doing a workout that's like pull-ups, handstand push-ups, burpees, something that's like very upper body, it takes a lot. You can throw a lot at my upper body, and I don't get too sore.
So on that 5x5 back squat that happened the other day, I felt really good after that, because I did something afterwards which CrossFitters would just shudder at. I finished that 5x5 back squat, and then I just went out and I jogged 2 miles. Yep, didn't lose my gains. But what that did is it just kept my legs moving. And what would have been, in my opinion, even more ideal is if I stopped every 400 meters and did just 5 air squats. That's it. Just to actually do the same movement that was getting me so profoundly sore, to move my legs and then to do that movement again with no loading, kind of like an active recovery sort of thing. That whole movement is medicine. I think the movement is medicine, and I think if you do something like that and then you don't do anything, then yeah, your legs are going to feel like painful cement. So I would recommend the whole movement is medicine thing. Don't make it another workout, but just, move a little bit.
A 20-minute run with something else is another workout.
First of all, I don't run 2 miles in 20 minutes. And it was a jog. It wasn't a run, it was a jog.
That's probably why I'm destroyed. I would never do that.
It's a jog. I had something. I was listening to a podcast. It was good to go. Okay, final one here. And we've got to get this in just because it's the right thing to do for this person to help them out. Matthew T. Hi, I'm a new dad of an 8-week-old little boy. Congratulations. My wife's probably having flashbacks thinking back to that. I'm struggling finding the time to work out. I believe you. I've been doing CrossFit since 2014, 4 to 5 times a week. With our little boy, it's more like 2 to 3 times per week, so I can't follow the 5 days of programming. What would you recommend to help someone in my situation, hoping that it's just temporary, selecting the workouts for the upcoming week? So I'd only fully comprehended your question now, not when I saw it earlier. So when I saw it earlier, I thought you were just looking for recommendations. So for anyone who wants, I looked up the 2 episodes of the Very Not Random podcast that I thought would help a new parent. Number 29 is tips and tricks to help new parents maintain their fitness. So that's Very Not Random number 29. And then Very Not Random number 67 is fitness as a parent with a 1-year toddler. And as funny as that is, as we record this video, our daughter turns 2 years old today. And so time flies. But now I see your question was how to pick the workouts. And so what I would say is, if now you're only going to do 2 or 3 workouts a week, of the 3, and this is in utopia, if your time permits, gear permits, of those 3, I would make one of them a heavy day. Okay? Whatever the heavy day happens to be that week, try to do that. Then the other 2, in an ideal world, I would pick one workout that when you see it, it puts a big smile on your face because you love the movements, the loading. Maybe it's Grace and you love clean and jerks, or it's DT. Pick the one that's going to be easy for you to say yes to. And then if you're actually interested in trying to maintain as much fitness as you can during this period, the 3rd workout, I would pick one that maybe doesn't put a big smile on your face because it's an area that is a bit of a struggle for you, that you do need to improve, or it gets you a little out of your comfort zone. But also, just do whatever you can do. Mm-hmm. Give yourself some grace. You got an 8-week-old baby. Doing anything is a win. Anything. So.
Yep. And it will it will pass. You will get back to
We
normal.
didn't
I
think
know
that
it
it
doesn't
would.
feel like it, but it will. And I think, you said you've been doing CrossFit since 2014, 4 to 5 times a week. You've got a foundation of fitness. You're not trying to start from ground zero. This is why you've trained that long, right? This is exactly what you've prepared for, is life. Now life is happening, and so you might have to peel it
Life is
back for a
happening.
little bit, and you will be able to jump back in, and your life will feel more normal. Your eyes won't feel like sandpaper every day that you roll out of bed. So just give yourself grace. You will get there. This is just a moment in time, and a blip on the radar.
So, yeah, that's everything. Yeah, great questions, everybody. So, as always, thanks for being awesome. Keep supporting each other. It's a rest day today. I hope that you're taking it. We know that Ben in France is not, and uh, I'll try to keep dragging Emily on here as frequently as I can. And I posted in the BTWB squads and the private Facebook group that tomorrow's workout, which is I'll say what it is, I'll post it here in a bit, but 21:15:9 of pull-ups and burpees. We're doing a Tempest match for that. So, check out that video. I walk through how to use Tempest, how to join, all that good stuff, and hopefully we can all throw down together. So, have a great day, and we'll talk later.